All right, so we are back. Closed our executive session, and I forgot to announce that it was RCW 42.30.110(1)(I). So it is 9:30. Patti, do you have a message for us?
I do. Good morning, Commissioner Trask, Commissioner Netherland. I don't see Commissioner Schutte here this morning. Is that true?
Yeah, he's feeling a little under the weather.
I see. Okay. I have with me today Jason Callahan, who is our new Forest Policy and Communications Manager, and Natalie Marshall, who is our new Public Affairs Coordinator. As you all know, I am retired, and today is my last day, and this is my last official act, and I did it just for you. And so this team will be taking over for me. They will be handling, Jason will be handling policy work at the state level, some at the county level when it gets complicated, etc. And Natalie will be handling community relations, charitable contributions, those kinds of things. And both of them will be working in all 9 states where I have been wandering off to over the last few years. So I'm confident that they'll have more interface with the local community than I did in the last couple of years. And it is not a symbol of how well I did my job. It's a symbol of how big the job got. That we're handling this with 2 people and actually another at least 1. So I'm really pleased that Green Diamond felt the need to augment our public affairs staff. And I know that these 2 will do a great job for the Shelton and Mason County community and well beyond that. And I commend them to you. I'd love for you to take a couple of minutes, if you don't mind, so that the 2 can introduce themselves and talk a little bit about their background, and then we'll let you get on your way.
Is it possible for y'all to move a little closer to the camera?
Yeah.
You are kind of way back.
Go ahead.
The camera.
There you go.
Hi.
Well, those are the hot seats, and now it's hot.
Right now, I'm ready. So I'm Jason Callahan. I'm Patti said what my new title was. Let's see, it was Policy and Communications Manager. I come to Green Diamond from the Washington Forest Protection Association, which is the trade association that represents Washington's private forest landowners. Green Diamond was one of our member companies. I was Director of Government Relations there, and Patti was the chair of the Government Relations Committee. So Patti and I worked closely together. I got to know Green Diamond in that capacity. My job there is, as you can imagine, it was setting the legislative agenda for the forest landowners and timber industry during sort of the build up to legislative session, and then implementing it once I got to Olympia in January, once everybody got to Olympia in January. I did that for 6 legislative sessions. Before that, I spent 16 years at our State House of Representatives, where I was nonpartisan committee staff to the House Natural Resources Committee and the House Environment Committee. So I worked on everything that falls in that bucket, from forestry to salmon recovery, fisheries, water quality, water quantity, growth management, air quality, you name it. I worked for 16 years on all of those topics. And that is where I started, and I went from there to WFPA, and now I'm here at Green Diamond. I do not live in Mason County, but I did for about 5 years when I commuted to Olympia. Now I'm doing the opposite, and my mom still lives off of Lynch Road in a little neighborhood called Bay East. So I'm familiar with Mason County, probably more so than Thurston County. So nice to meet everybody, and I'm sure you'll see me again, and I look forward to it.
I'm Natalie Marshall, and I'm the new Public Affairs Coordinator here at Green Diamond. And I've been in this role for about 2 months, but I've been with Green Diamond for about 3.5, almost 4 years in a different role. And in that role, I was able to work really closely with Patti Case and come to find out that I really like the public affairs work. So I'm really excited about this opportunity. And I like to say that I am a proud Mason County employee, but a very proud Grace Harbor residents. So look forward to working with all of you, and it's nice to meet all of you on camera.
Commissioner Netherland, do you have anything to say real quick?
First, it doesn't surprise me, Patti, that it takes many to do what you've done for many years. It's taken a long time, a lot of work, a lot of relationships that you've created and built over the years. I myself, I've had the honor of working with you. Sometimes we go back and forth, but that's what good relationships are made of. And I've always found you to be extremely honorable and very knowledgeable about whatever you would bring forward or come to discuss. If you remember back in the early days, we had a lot of things on properties and stuff, and very much appreciated you. So in your retirement, best of luck to you for that. May your next endeavor be just as exciting. For the two of you that I just met, just please understand I'm about the most approachable guy you'll ever meet. If you ever need me, you just go ahead and come in. I'll sit down and have lunch with you. You know, call my cell phone if you want to talk to me. If you want to talk to the county, knock yourself out. If you want to talk to me, call my cell phone. But I'd be more than happy and happy to meet with you and get to know who you guys are. So welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, Patti, you've got a big party coming up, I think, here on Friday. Yeah, and I will be attending that, so I'm super excited and sad at the same time. You have done amazing work for not just Washington State and for Mason County, but for states across the nation. You've done a lot and appreciate you so much. You've also helped Turning Point, so I thank you for that also. And Jason, God, we go way back.
Couple of those stops, yeah.
We do. Oh my gosh, the legislature. And then, yeah, so you were with the House when I was there. And then I believe it was Mark that stole you. And I'll never forgive him for that one. But now you're in Green Diamond. So, and you're working here in Mason County. So I guess okay, I will forgive Mark. Sorry, Mark.
Mark Doman, you can forgive because he only took back what was his. He hired me in the year 2000 to work at the House of Representatives. So then he hired me back to WFPA 16 years later. So he was just a little slow in the update.
That's right. Well, he was a great guy. I loved him too. And Natalie, super excited to work with you. Looking forward to it. And you're just right around the corner. I'm just right around the corner. Let's meet and have coffee sometime.
Yes, I would love that.
Okay. All right. And Patti, you will never get far.
I've got you on speed dial.
Yes, you do. What's that?
You're fairly new. I've not had the pleasure of meeting you, Mark, so welcome.
You're fading in and out.
I cannot hear what you
I was
said,
wondering
Patti.
if you might introduce your county administrator. We have not had the pleasure.
Still can't hear you.
She would like to meet the new county administrator.
There he is.
Absolutely. Would love
That's
to
doable.
meet you in person.
Yeah. He's here typically every day too. So that works.
That's it for Natalie.
And Jason, the county administrator, is in a new role here, so we're pleased to
Well-
have you as well, Mark.
I think it's because you're so far back from the microphone. If you were to come up closer to the microphone, we'd probably hear you. There you go.
I just wanted to say that for Natalie
and Jason, that the county administrator is a fairly new role here at Mason County, and we welcome you, Mark. And I, for one, look forward to working with you in a different capacity, but these two, I'm sure, will be able to help you out with anything you need with respect to Green Diamond.
Well, thank you very much. I look forward to meeting you guys and working with you.
And to all the staff that I've worked with over the years, thank you, thank you, thank you. Take care of this county for us, okay?
Absolutely.
Thanks very much for your time. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you guys for coming in, and
Yeah.
let's get together sometime.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
I think Jen is first up, so I'm going to run out there and say hello to him in person real quick, and you
Okay.
guys can just move with Jen.
All right. Sounds good. So we'll move on to support services. Mark's going to step out real quick, but Jen, is it Jen?
Actually, commissioners, I think it's Jen Barria from EDC.
Oh.
We have in your packet the 2022-23 Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy Project List, the SEDS list.
Oh, yes.
If there are questions or whatnot, Jennifer Barria, I believe, is on this call.
She is.
I sure am.
All right.
You've got the tiny screen today.
Well, that's good. I see Jim Morrell is here as well.
Yep. He is our chair for the legislative committee, which is the committee that handles the opening of this process, the pulling together the projects, and the ordering of the list. So he's new to the board and new to the position. So I invited him to kind of see the final part of the process that we have through this. So what you have in front of us is, I know that we opened it up for a second round for you. So it just recently was approved in November. So this might feel very familiar to you guys. We had a few updates. Some of the entities consolidated some of their projects and a few new ones, but it was a fairly quick process since we had already done it recently. So sent the timeline breakdown to Diane, and this is where we are. Not too much discussion at the EDC board meeting. Happened mostly at the committee level, but they're comfortable to have this move forward. I will note that it was decided at the committee level to, like you guys know, it's not a prioritized list, it's an ordered list. So this is ordered by the total cost of the project and then by the percentage of secured funding. So that's how the list goes from the top down. If you have any questions, happy to answer them. If not, we're presenting this list to you for discussion and eventually approval.
Commissioner Netherland, do you have anything?
No, I appreciate, so Jim, since you're the handle, I appreciate when it's not prioritized in a specific way, the reason why over the years. This is just something that is used to enable them to be able to go after certain grants. When you start prioritizing it, you end up kicking out the littler people, such as some of the smaller ports and stuff like that, because they're never going to be able to get that prioritization in a room full of people that are representing the bigger entities, even if they try hard. So the idea that you don't prioritize it is extremely important to me in particular, as somebody that used to serve on like the Port of Allen for 6 years. They just wouldn't be able to make it if you started prioritizing the top ones for your region, and that's not what a SEDS list is for. So thank you.
I think it's exciting to see some of the projects that are before us and where Mason County is headed. This will give you a small idea of the direction, the growth that we will be seeing, not and are seeing. The movement this last legislative session was really a statement maker also about the direction of Mason County, and to see those projects on the list, that's pretty exciting to me. Jim, do you want to say anything?
Appreciate Commissioner Netherland's comments and Jennifer's guidance in this process. She's got a wealth of background and history with this list in various forms. Two things I might call out, Commissioner Trask. The one being what you just mentioned, that in the interests of countywide collaboration and cooperation, as the Commission, City Council, and Port of Shelton demonstrated recently in their conversations, I think there's a great opportunity when we look through this list to find those points of where things connect. And the second is the partnerships column that's on that list. Those are primarily, but in some cases also governmental entities, and another opportunity for organizations to get in touch with the proposing organization and say, this is how we see this really helping and benefiting economic development, which is the main motivator, I believe, for why this list exists in the first place. So appreciate the opportunity to comment.
I'm glad to have you with the EDC. You're definitely an asset. Jennifer, do you have anything else for us?
Nope, that's it. If you guys don't have any questions, I will just as a side note, let you guys know that we are working with the 2 other counties that were part of the Economic Development District, which regionally as an umbrella housed the federal process for the SEDS committee to reinstate our Economic Development District. So I'll keep you updated as we move through that process. We are just at the start of it. So I don't know if you guys remember, but this was back when Lynn was here, that it got dissolved to be rebuilt, to be utilized more effectively. And then, well, a lot of stuff happened. So it hasn't moved through that rebuild process. So we are working through that.
Great. Well, it's good to have you as our neighbor also. You're just a stone's throw.
I know. And we're all the way in here. Not all the way unpacked, but we're all the way in here.
Oh, good. As long as little Cooper has a place.
Yep, always.
All right, Mark, do you have any comments or
I don't. Thanks for the information.
all right. Thank you, guys, and you're welcome to attend our meetings anytime. They're very exciting.
Oh, yes. We at least watch them. At a minimum, we watch them every week.
Oh, very good. All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Mark, what's next?
Next, I've got Diane with a request from Peck Mountain.
Yeah, I wanted to let the board know that Pack Mountain asked for some briefing time for their annual meeting and to meet their new leadership. So I'm working with getting them scheduled on a Monday. So it'll show up on your briefing calendar.
I like it. I'm a member of that board, and oh my gosh, I just went to a graduation for the construction folks, and they do such a good job. I had tears in my eyes quite a bit during that, but Peck Mountain's doing a good job.
You give them a heads up that one question I will be asking them is what specifically they're doing for a footprint and for action in the North Mason region. They used to represent us and have physical bodies there. I'd like to hear what they're doing now, what their intentions are for the future.
Okay, I'll let them know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
In relation to Pacific Mountain, I spoke with Cheryl Haywood from the Timberland Regional Library last week and had a great conversation with the partnership that our local libraries have with Pacific Mountain and some of the access to training resources that are available through the state library system. It's pretty extensive and it's all free and it's really amazing. So the library is doing quite a bit to try and bring some of these resources into our local communities through the libraries. And a lot of that is really just accessing your library card. And once you receive your library card, then you're eligible or it's available to go on and do a lot of this training remotely just from a computer. So they've got a lot of close work with Pacific Mountain and love to see that relationship continue to grow.
Yeah, me too. I think it's cool.
So next on our agenda is Jen Byerling.
Good morning, commissioners. Thank you, Mark.
Morning.
So we have the 2022 request for supplemental appropriations and amendments to the budget. And I briefed this last week, but we do have some new additions, which I fully expected since they weren't due from departments, requests weren't due from departments until last week. So we have, the first thing that I added was changing the cash, as was mentioned last week. So we will have the budget will match the beginning cash for 2022. And so now I've added those funds that were going to end in a negative budget the revenue change of $1,300,299, and then the expenditure change of negative $1,605,627. So those things were added, and the detail on that is on the detailed budget entries. And the majority of that is the increase to roads, 1.3 million in their revenue that was expected in 21, came in 22, and a decrease to their professional services of about 555,000. And then the other really big one is in the ARPA funds, $1,043,000 reduction to expenditures, which I think I mentioned that last week, but actually added those things into the entries. So that's the change on that detail in number 1 that you'll see in your packets or online. And then the next thing that we added is line 14, Superior Court. We added 27,200 in a request for increased court commissioner, bailiff, interpreter, and witness fees. And the other thing that we added was in community services health. They have a grant for 450,000 for lead services, 350,000 or lead grant, and then COVID test kits for 100,000. We had a change in line 17 to county road. There was a correction for moving the excavator purchased by solid waste by ER&R in the rates for ER&R. So that should be charged to solid waste and not roads. So we're reducing that county roads expenditure and then moving it to solid waste in line 17 and 18. And lines 19 and 20, we had a vehicle that should have been charged to utilities and was charged to solid waste. So that's a correction in the rates as well, $10,137 total. And then in Russellwood, we had a concern about their cash would have been in the negative in budget and most likely in reality as well. So line 21, I'm requesting line 21 and 22, I'm requesting to do a REIT 2 transfer into Russellwood, transfer out of REIT 2. So those are the changes that are included. And then one that is not included on here that I would like to add before we adopt the resolution for the budget is $24,000 in computer replacement for the sheriff's office. It would replace 16 computers. These computers were not included in the request for last year, getting IT up to where we're replacing 1/6 of the county's computers overall. So our goal is to do computers that are no more than 6 years old. And so this would help in getting us to that place. So if it's okay with you commissioners, and this has been ran by the IT steering committee and everybody thought it was a great idea. IT has capacity to do it. So if it's okay with you commissioners, I would like to add that in as a request and get this resolution put on the agenda for next Tuesday. Yes.
This is more for Mark. Mark, I have a concern. I see where we're going with this, and I like how we're doing it. And a lot of these things had to be cleared up. But I want to be careful that we are not approving and reallocating funds and making decisions through our budget process. That it's briefed and we make the decision, then it's included into a budget process, not the other way around. I'm okay with everything we have going right now. I just want to be careful that does not become our normal process of doing things.
So in terms of, as an example, the computer replacement.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's a good example. And the moving of REIT funds. Usually if we're going to do any movement of REIT funds, it comes before us. We go through a process and decide that's what we want to do and how much we want to do. That's just another example. Not the rule. I'm just saying that I want to be careful that as we start to go forward, this doesn't become more of our natural habit, that we are making our judgments through budget, through supplemental budget, and not the issue itself. Because we may have wanted to put a couple $100,000 or something like that. We've done that in the past to different things like Russellwood.
So can I speak to that really quickly? So normally we would add a transfer from REIT into Russellwood during the budget process, and we took it out during last year's budget process. So it normally is part of the budget process. This is just to kind of put it back in my opinion. And then the 24,000 for the computers, we would have done that at the same time as the rest of the computers last year, but we weren't sure what needed to be replaced. And so we finally got that figured out, and we have capacity. So I just wanted to state that I don't feel that this is really too out of the norm as far as asking for movement of budget, in my opinion.
So again, as we decided as a board to take something out, then we decided as a board to put something in, is my point on that. And as for the REIT, again, when we decide to do things, quite often in the past, we've actually put larger sums of money to make sure we have a cushion there in the future. But that's again something that we would discuss as a commission. Instead of making the decision by adding it in the budget, we usually make a decision in briefing, then move it forward for a change. That's all I'm saying. And I'd still like to be careful that we don't do stuff like that too much in the future. When we're doing an allocation of 19 computers, again, that's an example. But yeah, that's a large purchase. It should be, we should discuss it.
16 computers.
Yeah. 16.
Yeah, absolutely. Understood. And we'll do that. It's, you know, on the other side too, I think that it's, so when we identified what our actual beginning fund balances were associated with the cash at the end of the year, we identified areas where we may be going into, if we were to spend everything that we had estimated that we would spend, approved in the regular budget by the board, and collected everything that we planned on collecting, that those funds would be in a negative fund balance perspective. So they would be either negative fund balance or be dipping into reserves that you had reserved for something else. And so the changes that you see there are really a decrease in the budget or an increase in the revenue. So the increase in the revenue is pretty simple, that Jen explained. Money that we actually earned in 2021 but didn't receive until 2022. So that's the little over $1 million there, 1.3, I think. And then the reduction of the expenditures on the professional services side is a necessary reduction in order to maintain that reserved fund balance and not overspend what we have in our roads fund. And so that's absolutely, I mean, we try to bring a lot of these topics before the board in these briefings to go over them. If we're making policy decisions like the computers that you talked about, I definitely see a difference in that, Commissioner Netherland. And so I'll try and differentiate those. But are you comfortable with the other?
Oh, very much so.
Okay.
I just, like I said, I was only making clear my point. I just want to, I'm even comfortable with everything we're doing here. What I'm saying is in the future, I'd appreciate it still if we would have the full conversation before hearing it in a budget supplemental, which to me always in the past has been very strict. I like being strict on that. That's why we started putting money away over the years.
I think for me, it feels more transparent the way that we're doing this. It shows where the changes are being made. So I really like this. I think it's been needed, and I like the way that the county is going. It's becoming a lot more transparent. Not that we had anything to hide, but it just makes it so that it's out there so that people can see it. There are no questions.
Yeah, budget's unique, right? I mean, it's a guess. So we're making guesses, you know, back in August of 2021, based on what we think we're going to be in 2022. So absolutely, you know, updating it with actuals and addressing the items that came between now and then, and accumulating them all in one big budget adjustment definitely makes life easier for Jen, because she only has to do it once, but it does create a little bit longer of a list. But on the other hand, I definitely think that when we're talking about policy things, I can differentiate between policy and just a financial decision.
Right.
Okay, great. Then I will I'll add the 24,000 to the sheriff's office budget for the computers, and then put this on the agenda, the resolution for adoption next Tuesday.
And Diane has been working hard with TJ and Jen and I and developing a computer replacement policy. So I think that we have that pretty much hashed out, and you'll probably be seeing that coming forward from Diane in the near future. And that's really kind of defining. So we don't get to the position where we have computers that are 8, 10 years old and then having to replace them. I think that if the theory behind it is that if a computer lasts 6 years and we replace 1/6 of our computers each year, then we'll maintain current technology. And hopefully that will work out okay. 6 years can be a long time. We've identified processes in place to ensure that if there is something that happens within that 6 years, there's the ability to get individuals back up and running. But yeah, technology changes fast.
Yeah, it does.
We battled it out over the 6 years thing. Mark and I.
Guess who won? Yeah. Jen won.
Yeah, she's pretty smart.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you, Mark.
So the next item that I have on here, you don't have anything in your packet for, and I apologize. That's my fault. We've had a lot of stuff going on within human resources, and we don't have an HR director right now. And so thank goodness we have the staff that we have over there remaining, because they've really helped me in get some of this information together. But I did leave it on here in order to just bring it up as a topic. And this is something that I'm looking into and I'm identifying. And if you don't mind, would you mind if I shared my screen just to kind of give you a preview of it?
No, go for it.
Okay. Let me make sure I bring up the right thing here. So this is our current organizational structure for the county as a whole. And what I'm specifically looking into is our community services department, which is this area here, where we have under community services, we have a finance division, we have an environmental health division, a family health division, and a community development services division. And things in the public health world are changing, as well as the things within our community development. From a public health change, Dave is working closely with the state to implement a foundational public health model. So that is a different financing scheme associated with how they're going to fund public health at the local level. I think that it looks like we are receiving additional funds that are coming in there. And I've spoke with Dave about, and this is the information I'll be presenting to you later, is the nuts and bolts of it, right? That what do the dollars and cents look like? But right now, Dave is actually split, the cost of Dave is split over these 4 separate divisions, really 2 mainly, the health side and the community development services side. And so if we were to take and kind of drill down into a little bit more detail in terms of what these divisions might look like, I've got share this. So this is the public health organizational chart at a fairly detailed level. So you can see Dave up here is our director, and Carrie Gardner is our public health officer. And then here's the individual sections within community health. So fairly extensive group of folks, very broad scope of responsibilities associated with public health. And really with the changes that we're seeing coming to public health is going to require a lot of time and energy on Dave's part to really manage all of these new programs that are coming in. And in terms of how we're going to provide additional services at the local level that'll all be administered really through our public health department. And when you look at it, I think that the piece that ties most closely with our community services section is the environmental health side of things. So obviously water, sewer, those types of things are really required to coordinate with development services. And I think that's originally one of the reasons that you consolidated all these. And Commissioner Netherland, you were involved in that process, so you could probably talk more about that. But I definitely see the nexus and the relationship that needs to stay there. And so when you look at that section of public health, I think that it's definitely something that we need to continue to maintain, not only with environmental health, but also with public works, because they're handling the utility side of things. And so I'm going to pull up what it would look like. My next one is if we were to separate out DCD. This is what DCD might look like. So we still have a finance section that is included within DCD. And I would propose that Kel would be moved into the director role there. And then you definitely see the permit side, the building side, and then the planning side. And when I've looked at over the last 3 years, I've done some analysis thanks to Kathy and Jen Byerly and Leo. They've provided me some documentation associated with what is the cost of this and how do we actually recoup some of these costs. So they've actually been doing a great job of tracking the costs associated with providing these services and comparing it to the revenue that's actually generated from providing these services from the permits and the fees that we charge. There is a piece of it that exists within the planning side of things that is tough we don't charge a fee for it per se. It's really a responsibility of government to plan our communities. And so those costs, even though those costs can't be recouped through fees, when you look at the fee structures that we've had over the last 3 years, we've actually brought in more fees than we have in expenditures for the permitting and the building official side. But definitely recognize the relationship and the communication structure that needs to exist between what would be DCD, environmental health, and our public works department. So this is, I present this just really as kind of an introduction to what I'm looking at, and I'm looking to get some feedback from the board if you'd like me to continue down this path.
I would love for you to continue down this path. I think it's a good direction to go. I think with the county growing the way that it is, it's necessary. I think it had it was what it was when it needed to be that way, if that makes sense. But I see this as, as a good solid step forward for Mason County. We've been making changes, and I think it's pretty amazing that the changes that we've been making over the past 3 years, 2 years. And I think this is a good step forward. Commissioner Netherland, would you like to?
I look forward to seeing what all you come up with and holding the papers in my hand.
All right, yeah, I absolutely need to do that part of it, and I'm hopeful that that this is really just an introduction, and that you're going to have papers that are coming forward before next week's agenda. Kel or Dave, do you guys have anything that you'd like to add to the discussions that we've had?
This is Dave. So, yeah, I sent a kind of a briefing page, a 2-pager with some of the reasonings behind bringing this forward. And then, of course, the organization charts. And I also sent over a communication flow chart that you'll be getting that shows how communication flows and how SmartGov has been influential in making that a better process, because now we can share documents electronically. They're all in one place. It's a better process than what we've had in the past.
I thought the communication chart was really interesting. It shows definitely the need for communicating between all of the departments. Kel?
Yeah, so over the last couple of years, since COVID started and Dave and Chris Nelson had to head up to the EOC and they sort of disappeared for a while. And then I took over the Community Development Department building and permit center, in addition to the planning department that I was already managing. We went through a lot of changes, and Dave and I worked on a lot of different things in that first year in 2020. And then in 2021, he was just really knee deep, not only in COVID stuff, but also the foundational public health stuff and growing his team downstairs. I know they're kind of bursting at the seams down there. So it wasn't just COVID, it was a lot of other things that he had going on. And so I think he's been doing a great job working with public health side. And I say that I've been doing a pretty good job on managing the community development department, recruiting Todd Cunningham to work as our building official. We're hoping to recruit fire marshal that we're in the negotiation process right now. And really building our team here and making a lot of improvements, not only internal communications, but also external with our public works division. Been working with Ian now that he's managing since Alex Pacey has left. And we've also onboarded public works staff in our, what used to be the lean team, but now we're calling it a SmartGov team. But it has representatives from public works, environmental health, building, planning, permit center, and IT. So, with that and looking at Mark Neary's position as the administrator, who could, his role I see as herding the cats. So if Ian and I aren't communicating, or our teams aren't communicating, or Loretta and I are having, issues, it's really, we're looking at Mark to hey, pull us together, and where are we, where do we need to fill some gaps if that happens? So I think that our county has grown tremendously since I came back here in 2016. And I think this is a really good idea to separate the departments and get community development back as its own department. Yeah, I feel very positive about it.
So I'm just going to share really quickly this is the it looks really kind of wonky, and can you see it? This is a communication diagram that Dave was referring to that he put together.
Yep, we can see it.
Commissioners, may I also say something?
Oh, sure, Carrie, how are you?
Good morning. Before I was health officer for Mason County, I was a new home seeker, and I looked at several different counties. And when we decided to purchase a home in Mason County, there were lots of questions that I think that's for Kel and her staff. And I just wanted to put in my 2 cents worth that I think for the growth of the county and the economic development, it's really important to have a manager who is fully focused on that aspect of planning and development. And I can speak to working with Kel as as someone who was moving into the county, that I thought she expertly managed her office. So I have confidence in her doing that. But I just wanted to put in my 2 cents worth that I think it's important to have the full focus of the manager on the department for the economic growth and development of Mason County. Thank you for taking the comments.
Yeah, thank you.
So like I said, just an introduction, wanted to make sure that the commissioners were aware kind of the path that I was heading down here. I'm hopeful that that this next Monday I can actually bring to you what that looks like, so that you can actually see the potential impact of how we will cover the costs associated with separating out the department. So obviously, on the surface, it's very clear that Dave would no longer be charged to the community development side. And so we would actually move his salary completely into public health and how that will be covered. And I think Dave has a very good understanding of how that could work without impacting the public health services that are provided, as well as moving Kel into a director position. I think that the costs, just first blush costs, that it actually is a cost reduction for the development side. So that was what I had for you for that, and I will continue to work on that. I appreciate it. The next item that we're going to jump into is Nicole has helped me put together the draft incentive pay policy that we discussed last week. And so this is in your packets. Thank you, Nicole. And this kind of gives us a general overview. You can see that it's like a 3-page long policy. This would be inserted into our personnel policies. And you can see the structure of it. And what we tried to do is really kind of identify the different areas that we could potentially provide incentive under. We're looking at the PEs and the CPAs now, but there are other things that we could look at, and we wanted to provide some examples there for you. Nicole, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
No, yeah, just what Mark said. Yeah, that table right there kind of identifies the differences between the licensures, the professional certifications, and the potential for a certification program with key definitions in there. And the idea when we developed this is that we would obviously we could modify it and change it in as we start looking through each different trade.
Be happy to entertain any questions from the commission.
Any questions, Commissioner Netherland?
No.
No, I look forward to more understanding and more, I guess not so much understanding, but I just want to make sure that if there's something in their job description and we're going to give them incentive pay for that, even though that I've got a lot of questions about it still. And so I think as you move forward, I'll share some of those questions and concerns about that.
Yeah, I think it's I think I understand what you're talking about in terms of the positions that we already have that require a PE. And that's some of the examples that we provided last week. But in order to actually implement this incentive for the individuals that are really down on the bench side, we have to impact those individuals that already hold those positions, right? And in order to not have salary compression, where you all of a sudden have individuals that are in a lower classification earning more than the individuals that are in the official classification. I'm really excited about some of the opportunities that this will provide us, specifically within the engineering side of things, just because it gives us a career path forward for individuals that want to come to Mason County and begin their engineering career. I think that we have technicians that come aboard that obviously have an interest in doing this type of work and being able to provide them with a path and some incentive to move down that path. I'm excited to see what we get and what we're able to retain. Same thing on the CPA side, in that we have a lot of different financial positions throughout the county. Our lead CFO position really does require that level of knowledge and experience and licensure to create the financial statements that Leo creates. And it makes perfect sense to me that, you know, having individuals that are in lower level classifications have an incentive to actually move forward and continue down that licensure path could definitely provide us with benefits in the future when Leo decides to retire and hang up the cleats. Although, you know, he's super young, Leo. But as he decides to do that, then having individuals that are familiar with Mason County finances, right? I mean, I'd love to see that opportunity to take staff that are really educated and informed about Mason County financials move into that role, because I think that adds a lot of consistency as we move forward.
I'm all for succession planning. I just want to make sure that what we do is beneficial for the entire county and for all of our employees.
And this is just a start. I do think that there are definitely opportunities. Nicole and I were actually just talking about that this morning, about how do we identify the other areas that we could institute an incentive policy in. So this is just a start, Commissioner Trask, and I do think that especially under the certification side, we have some opportunities there that really could recognize some individuals that go above and beyond what their current job requires, and incentivizing individuals to do that not only improves our work product that we produce from the county, but also I think helps reduce our potential risk and liability associated with the things that we do sign off on and say that the county seal of approval is there, because now we have individuals that are, you know, that it's proven that they've actually gone and taken a test and they're certified to actually do that type of work, and to recognize the unique aspects of them. And I can see that in you know, a lot of the development review side of things. I think that exists there quite a bit. I also think that there's other certifications in the finance world that could potentially be recognized, but really defining how we determine what certificate is recognized and how do we compensate for it. This will be a pretty wide range, I think, of incentives throughout the organization.
For myself, I definitely always see this as a strong step forward. It would be nice to be able to create magic and make things happen all at one time, but I didn't see any way to make that possibly even happen. So with that, I think, as I said before, how to eat an elephant one bite at a time, we have to start somewhere. One of the beauties of this whole process, though, is that it's a living, breathing process once we get it started. We haven't started it yet. So once we get it started, as we find things next year even, I'd like to continue to move forward, as Commissioner Trask is talking about, and ticking off the things that we keep finding. But it could be a year, 2 years down the line, we find we have another area that needs to be represented or strengthened. And this is a tool that we'll be able to use because we have past practice to put it into place to strengthen that department, that modality or something. So again, I see this as a very, very positive and a great first step for accomplishing the strengthening of our educated workforce in Mason County.
I think your next topic is one that I support. I'm sure you've heard me for 3 years talking about this one.
If we're ready to move on to that next one, we definitely can.
I'm good.
Okay. So the next one is the request of Commissioner Trask to take a look at, I guess I would say that our non-represented staff here within the county, we tend to really analyze those positions when we have a vacancy, or when I would say the vacancy is probably the most predominant. And Nicole, please feel free to jump in here whenever you want. When we put a job out there on the market and try and attract somebody to come to Mason County, and we don't get anybody to apply, then we tend to start to look into the details a little bit more and say, why aren't we attracting individuals to come to Mason County for this position? Understanding that the labor market right now, unemployment is at its lowest levels since the 60s, I think. So we're definitely in a very competitive time right now in terms of employment. But actually taking a look at it, and I definitely see this, Commissioner Trask, as being something different than the incentive program. So if we were to go out and do an RFP on our comparable counties and actually look at the details associated with our job descriptions that we have in place and compare them to our comparable counties and recognize kind of where we sit within those, right? I mean, I think that population is a good indicator because population tends to be synonymous with revenue, general tax revenues coming in. And so you have, as you have more population and you have more people in the county, then you actually generate more sales tax. You usually have more property taxes that you're collecting. And therefore you have the ability to pay a different wage potentially, or increase your workforce and have more individuals able to come in and do the work. So what this would require if we started to go down this path would really be, I think the first step is really defining those positions first. That's something that we can do internally. So we could send out a position description form, and we could make it however broad as we want to update those individual position descriptions to be able to reflect the work that's currently being done by individuals that hold those positions. Now, technically, I think this should be done on an annual basis when an individual has a review done, but I don't know how current they are. And so having that information is essential to go out and do this type of RFP or this type of analysis, because we want to compare apples to apples. So when we're looking at different positions that we have within the county and the scope of their responsibilities, then we can actually compare it and have an apples to apples comparison. So I'm happy to entertain any questions you guys might have about this item.
Okay. So Mark, is this comprehensive throughout the whole county? Because I know that we already do this for our represented positions on a constant basis. And I want to hear you say, if we're going to go for the whole county as a whole, that this will not interfere or hurt us as we're in the middle of negotiations, or we have negotiations that have just occurred. We just signed contracts and now they want to take another bite of the apple because we do something. If you tell me this is the right way to go, then I go along with it. I completely understand it for the non-represented because they don't have any of that benefit. And we don't have any of the comparables that we've been using because we haven't done it that comprehensively in the years I've been here. We've taken little pieces and done it in the non-represented, but we've never done it comprehensively. If it is in the non-represented, another idea we might want to do is to take each time by using that job description for their duties as assigned. It would be pretty advantageous for the department heads to also ask what new duties have been assigned, because you may have an opportunity that changes where it's not just an issue of comparability with how much they're paid, but maybe even a reclassification that maybe should have occurred, but nobody knew to do it. It opens up that door eventually we're going to have to clean that up anyway. But right now we don't have a great process. They bring it forward. They want to give somebody a raise. They try to find a way. I'd love to find out what they're actually doing and if we already should be finding a way to reclassify their positions.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you, Commissioner Netherland. It's but I think that my first focus was on those non-represented positions, because you're absolutely correct. As a part of our negotiation process, you know, the union will bring forward comparables with those individual positions that exist within that union structure. And for the majority of our unions, the list is fairly manageable. When we get into general services, it sounds like that list is a little bit broader. And so, Nicole, would you like to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, correct. So typically when we're doing in-house comp salary surveys, it's at the request, whether it's a reclassification request or typically when we're preparing for collective bargaining negotiations, we do prepare, and most of the contracts just have 1 or 2 or 3 positions. General services is a lot larger. It's not one that has, you know, we've been able to do certain positions within that group, but that would be one that's a good example of not having full information on those comps salary surveys when we're going into negotiations. So yeah, it's something, it's not done all the time, but it definitely, general services is one that hasn't had the salary comp surveys done in a while on all of the positions.
Commissioner Trask, I'll clarify my position then, hearing what I'm saying, what I'm hearing. If this is a full comprehensive with everybody, including bargaining units, then I'm still supportive, but I have reservations, great reservations. If this is specifically for non-represented at this point, I have no reservations at all. I don't see any dangers or anything that comes with that. If anything, it puts us in a position to help protect, take care of the employees we have and compensate them fairly, while maybe even moving them up in ranges as we find they're doing other duties. And we all know they are. We know there's different parts that are doing more duties than they've been assigned, and they have been for years. We just don't have a way to catch that, where this may be that way to catch it, especially if we're focusing on this much of the pie instead of trying to do every single aspect that we can't control. Because if you try to do a reclassification at that level with the union, that's a whole nother ballgame. That has to go through them through negotiation, but there's nothing we can even do there without them. Where these others, like we said earlier, taking a bite out of, how do you even know if it one bite at a time? This would be a great bite and could help us in the future. So no reservations if it is for non-represented.
I think our CFO position is an excellent example of that.
Yep.
So yeah. Obviously we can't make a decision today because we don't have a third commissioner. But I like the direction that we're headed.
I've not had a chance to talk to Commissioner Schutte specifically about this one. So absolutely we'll follow up with him, and I would agree with Commissioner Netherland that the group of employees that probably has not been focused on is the non-represented folks. I think that that's probably where the biggest risk, or maybe I wouldn't call it risk, but that's kind of where the largest area that we haven't really looked at the details of, because like Nicole said, that as they go through those individual negotiation processes with the unions, they are identifying the positions. The union is definitely identifying those positions that they don't feel are adequately compensated. Mm-hmm. And there's processes that we can go about to incorporate that analysis and any change into a union contract so that those individuals' salaries could be redefined. I do think that as you mentioned, one of the attractive parts of coming to work for a small county at various levels throughout the organization is the fact that the scope of responsibilities that you have is pretty broad. So I can talk specifically about the financial side. If you're in a large organization at a state level, you may just do one component of that. You may just process invoices, and that's all you do day in and day out. But when you come here and you're a financial analyst, you actually get experienced in other areas too. So I think that is a factor that we can sell publicly about coming to work for Mason County. Really give, especially those individuals that are just getting started within their careers, to provide them with a pretty broad-based experience within the field that they've chosen.
Funny you say that, Mark, getting started in their careers. And then if we put forward what we just were discussing with achievement markers where they can get higher compensation automatically by moving forward, what a great place to start. Today, it may help us this much, but in 10 years of that practice, that could be huge for a county.
Yeah, I think it would definitely help with retaining employees. I've been actually doing a little bit of research on, thanks to Dave Windom. He goes to classes or sees something and he'll forward me these articles to read on. So what is it? How do you create a workforce and retain that workforce? It's not all about money. A lot of it is about the environment in which you work. And so, being able to focus on creating an environment here that people want to come work and they feel like they're a part of a team that's doing something good. I'm excited to see as we continue to grow. We're going to have the opportunity to do that. And I think that you guys have placed individuals within leadership positions throughout our departments to be able to achieve that. So I'm excited.
Me too. I like the direction that we're headed. I just want to make sure that we do it correctly.
So quick update is last Friday was the final day of our last RFP that we issued for negotiation and personnel services. I believe, and I need to go back through my emails to make sure, but I believe that we only received one response to that RFQ or RFP. And so we'll be evaluating that and hopefully moving forward this week, and maybe be able to get you something on your agenda for next Monday for a briefing. And then if possible, get it on our agenda for Tuesday to get a contract in place.
Could they perhaps be the one we also contact or have some communications with in regards to the issue we just talked about?
It is.
I was also, as Mark was bringing that up, must be reading my mind, because that was something, as we've gone out for this RFP for this our chief negotiator, most likely we're going to get that comps. They're going to end up doing that comp salary for those positions within those contracts as well. So, those may get updated that way with that. But yes, that person, it could be worked out both ways.
Yeah, and just to reiterate what Nicole said, so the individual so we got a number of questions about our RFP from various vendors, and we responded to all of those questions. But to my knowledge, I've only received one official response to our RFP, and that was from the individual that we initially looked at or was referred to when we lost our HR director and we were trying to figure out how do we move forward. There was I think that we had received a reference from one of our external resources to say, hey, you should look into getting assistance with this negotiation and personnel in the interim through this specific organization. And we reached out to them and talked to them a little bit about it. They actually talked to the board a little bit about this is since we've never gone out, I don't believe, for an external negotiator to help us through union contracts. It was just kind of an informative session that yes, this does exist. This individual does it throughout the state of Washington. One of the things that I'm excited that this individual might bring is that is a really good broad perspective, because they've actually been involved in negotiations with some of our comparable counties. They've actually helped them through that process. So bringing that information and that knowledge base to Mason County to help us get through the rest of these contracts, I think is going to be very beneficial for the board, so that this individual can actually provide you with the current real life experience that they're addressing in other counties.
It's very cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will. Thank you. I will definitely reach out to Commissioner Schutte and kind of walk him through this and see if he is interested in how he wants to approach it. And then we can actually bring this back to the board for another briefing and make a decision on how we want to move forward in terms of if we want to issue an RFP for this service, what is the scope of that RFP? So once we have all three commissioners' input on that, then I think we'll be able to move forward with it.
Well, and perhaps if you talk to Commissioner Schutte and we base it off of the conversations we just had as a commission, the two of us, perhaps we can structure a question we can ask this other applicant for the other one we just went out for.
Mm-hmm.
Because it'd be nice to be, for example, if it is structured around the non-representative, what would that person do it for? Can it be part of this initial contract and get started? If they're going to be doing it, it makes so much more sense to be doing everything at one time.
Yeah, I think that definitely from a legal standpoint, the scope of work that we advertised for initially did not include this, but this may be a separate scope. But I do believe that this company actually does this type of work. Was it Jefferson or which county was it, Nicole? Jefferson. So back in, I think it was 2017, correct me if I'm wrong.
They finalized it in 2018, yeah.
Yep, started the process in 2017, finalized it in 2018. And the individual that responded to our current RFP actually performed that work for them. So we got to look at the process that what they went through, kind of got to look at the level of detail from an executive summary perspective, the level of detail that they provided within their report definitely looks very interesting. So I'm excited that if he works out well for our negotiation side of things, then maybe another resource to do this type of work too.
That'd be cool.
All right. Any more questions on that?
Not at this point.
Okie doke. Well, I believe that is all that I had for administrative services.
Commissioner Netherland, do you have anything for Mark?
Nope. Thank you, Mark.
Absolutely. And if you think of things that you would like me to include in my analysis, please let me know. Shoot me an email, stop by the office, let me know what you'd like to see in there. Definitely want to meet all three commissioners' expectations and needs associated with the information that they need in order to make the decision, whether it's the reorganization side of our community services department or these potential contracts that we're talking about.
Well, my only thing was just if you're going to do it, to also reach out to all of them asking for their job descriptions, but also a description of duties as assigned. You know, there is another part I just thought of that could come with that. We make sure that we're not doing something that's violating our union contract as well.
Yeah, I definitely was looking into that. The kind of the idea, if we were able to move forward with the comp survey, is most definitely, working with each department head to get these job descriptions updated and potentially having some sort of questionnaire to go with it to make sure they're updated. Anything we may have updated in 2021, just getting a quick confirmation that it's still the same. But yeah, definitely job descriptions most definitely need to be updated prior to us moving forward with getting the comp survey. So kind of in our head, I kind of have an idea of how to get that.
Loretta actually provided us with an example of a questionnaire that we could send out to the individual employees that really would allow them to kind of go through that process of documenting the specific tasks and duties that they do. And then working with, like Nicole said, the supervisors to actually review that and verify that's documented correctly. A lot of work, information that's needed before we even start this process, because we have to compare apples to apples. So I do think that that would be well worth our while. Even if we didn't go out and do an RFP, I think it would be worth our while, because taking the time to actually review job descriptions and ensure that our staff are actually doing what they're being compensated for makes a lot of sense.
Perfect sense.
Yeah, no, it makes sense to even have them updated annually during reviews. I mean, yeah, it's definitely one area we want to improve.
It might actually mean that they get reviewed.
All right, so that's all I have. Move on to Dave.
Good morning again.
Good morning.
Today's is pretty simple. On May 25th, we are doing a all staff training, looking to do that out at the Ridge in their big meeting room upstairs, doing all day all staff training out there. So that's that item.
In the past, you've paid for things out of your pocket. Dave, how are you handling the food this time?
So the food this time, we're going to run that through our FPHS piece. So it's going to be $500 for the room and food. So we've got the expenses covered. Yeah, I have paid for that kind of stuff in the past.
You have.
Yeah, and it kind of comes with the territory sometimes. We do have funding to do that now. So
okay,
good. Sounds great. Sounds like a productive day.
Yeah. So I love these all staffs because it's my time with the staff to really dig in and train and work through a lot of things. They're great for building and providing direction and some purpose. So, and as an announcement, we have Melissa Casey, who is starting today as our new incoming community health manager. So today is her first day officially in that capacity. So pretty excited about that.
That's cool.
So you'll be bringing her here in the future to meet and put her on the spot?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So you'll get a chance to meet her pretty soon. And then on the, I didn't want to mess this up. The 19th is Lydia's going away party. So we'll be doing that over at the commission chambers. And then Lydia's last day will be the 20th. She was going to be out the 26th, but something came up. So she'll be leaving on the 20th. And so Melissa gets one less week with Lydia, but they've got it handled. They've got a very good transition plan in place.
Very cool. I think she'll fit the spot well.
And then that's really all I have, unless you want an update on COVID.
Can you do it quickly?
Yeah, really, I can. So this morning, presented to Area Command the newest statistics on COVID. We're up about 217% in the last 2 weeks. So we had gotten to a point where we were at 0 deaths per 100,000 for 14 days, and we had like 1.5 hospitalizations per 14 days, and those numbers have doubled. Okay, that's what it looks like on paper. That's the problem with small numbers, so our deaths are back up again. We had a couple last week, so we went back up to 3 per 100,000. Hospitalizations are up to 3 per 100,000. So it is starting to tick up as we look across the state, and as we look to Europe, which is a couple of weeks ahead of us. We see the Omicron is ramping up. What we're not seeing is a big increase in hospitalization. So while we see cases on the increase, what we're really going to watch is the rate of hospitalization as our real marker for what the disease load is in the community. So I put out some new information last week on boosters, who's eligible for the second booster if they're so inclined. And we're just keeping an eye on things right now. We have plenty of masks, we have plenty of tests. Building 1 has been doing a great job of getting those out the door. People come in all the time. So I think we're kind of at a point now where we're just kind of in a moderate mode and just watching what's going on and then reacting as things happen.
I've handed a few of those tests out myself, so yeah, I know it's awesome that they're free and they can just walk in, request them, and do their testing at home.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of influenza cases, I think. I'm hearing that influenza B is actually showing up again. So across the state, influenza and tuberculosis are popping back up. But there's a crud that's going around right now, and a lot of people are getting that crud, and I'm not sure if it's allergies or if it's something else, but we've got a lot of people who are asking for tests, eliminating COVID, and then treating things with other methods.
What are the symptoms that you're seeing on that? Is that lung?
Yeah, so it's fevers, headache, body aches, really all the kinds of things that you would associate with traditional influenza. We're seeing a lot of that, just a lot of cough, but it's also the height of allergy season. I mean, look around, there's pollen everywhere. It's sticking to everything. So we've got, I think, probably a case where there's multiple things going on at once, all with the same kind of symptom base.
Or you get a couple of the same thing, or not a couple of the same thing. You get two things at once.
So
Exactly. It was fun.
COVID test is a great way to to eliminate that as something of concern.
Yep. Yeah. And just if you're sick, stay home.
Exactly. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Easy peasy. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah.
All right. So now we have Loretta.
Morning. Well, first up, commissioners, we have National Public Works Week, week of the 15th. And the city of Shelton has, well, first off, we'll start with the proclamation. And if it's all good with commissioners, we will put this on the action agenda to read the National Public Works Week proclamation.
Absolutely.
Are you going to read it or have one of the commissioners read it?
Either way, I am happy to do it. And commissioners, this is the standard that's put together by APWA. And I am more than happy to put some things to make this a little more characteristic of Mason County.
I think you should.
Yeah, me too. So happy to do that.
Therefore, be it known that when you go out on the road in the middle of the night after a windstorm, it isn't just magic that everything disappeared, all the limbs went off, and nobody got killed. Thank you.
There you go. I think I hear my ghost rider over there. Yeah.
Mark.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Oh, Mark had his hand up.
I was just thinking that as our leader of Public Works, I would ask the commissioners to read it, to also recognize Loretta for her part in this. So if I would be happy to read it in the area, or if the commissioners would like to read it, that would be fine too. I just don't think we should ask Loretta to read it, because she should be included in that recognition, I guess.
You don't want me to toot my own horn, Mark? Come on.
Well, you need to be recognized along with the rest of your team, I think. So,
Commissioner Trask, I think Mark should read it, and therefore he can take the time to recognize her.
absolutely. I'd love
That's
to.
what I thought too. Great minds.
I'm not accused of that often.
Well, lots to celebrate. All of the divisions have been just really doing fantastic work, and I could not be prouder of them. So good things. Good things happening under not optimal conditions.
Right.
And then along the same lines, commissioners, the city of Shelton has been doing a Stuff the Truck event during Public Works Week. And they wanted to know if we would like to join that effort with them. And we said, yes, we're in.
Cool.
And so sometime, I think it's either the 17th or the 18th, we're nailing down dates and all of those good details. We will be having some piece of equipment with the city, and then also we'll locate another piece of equipment and personnel up in Belfair as well. So if you've got any special,
Just let me know so I can market it when the time comes.
yeah, perfect. Yep. We need to get some banners together. And like you say, Commissioner, market. So we make good use of our time while we're out there. And let's see, last week, Commissioner Schutte, you asked the question how the Kitsap closures affected our transfer stations. And Richard's online today to share with you some really, really interesting statistics about our solid waste facilities. Not only about the closures, but just COVID effects and flow control effects, and just some staggering numbers. Richard.
It's nothing but fun.
Right.
Some trash talk, right?
Right.
Trash talk. Yeah, exactly. Let's get trashy. Let's see what the Kitsap effect and how we didn't see a huge effect at Yells Hill. Maybe we've seen like a 15% increase during that time. But the effect, of course, at Belfair was huge. Every day that they were down, we've seen like a 50% increase at Belfair.
Wow.
And in fact, we were taken by surprise the very first day that we didn't know they were down. Normally we have 2 empty containers there to be filled, and they last us through the weekend, and they lasted us till 2 o'clock that first day. And then we were full, and like I said, they took us by surprise, and we ended up shutting down early. We made adjustments and were able to handle that. And like Loretta said, it has been interesting. I looked all the way back since we just completed 4 months this weekend. I looked back at our 4-month totals, and COVID, pre-flow control, those first 3 months in 2019, we had processed or received 11,454 tons. As of Saturday, April 30th this year, we've seen 16,529 tons, or a 44% increase in just 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah. When COVID happened, I mean, that adjusted that number from 2019 to 2020. That was a 9.5% jump. Pretty much just the only real thing that happened in that first 3 months was COVID. And then 2021, we instituted flow control for the whole year, for that first part of the year as well. And that made a big jump. That jumped 26%. And then of course it just keeps going. And it's staggering, really. It's really kind of scary. And then Loretta had a good thing. She says, well, how about our recycling? How's that changed? I can tell you, Amazon and everybody's making a good amount of money. We've seen from 2018, we had 180 tons of cardboard for the entire year. 2021,
I think you froze.
Just like 2021.
Right.
I mean, that's a 31%.
Wow.
I think I'm responsible for a lot of that all by myself.
Oh, no.
Mixed waste paper, though, there's not a lot of newsprint. So that's going down. That's at 4% increase. And plastic and tin is only at 1%. Glass, thank goodness, is down 7. And that's one that has never had a positive commodity. So I'm not really too concerned about that. I'm glad that's going down.
It's too bad we can't figure out a good way to recycle that stuff.
That's the thing. They end cycle it right now. It's getting repurposed. It gets ground up and as filler in your concrete in a lot of instances.
I know there's some wineries that use recycled bottles too. So that's cool.
Yep. Yep. And hey, we've had our issues and had tough times. Nothing, if you've been watching the news, compared to Snohomish County last week. They had 4,400 tons stacked up over 40 feet high and sitting on the ground because they couldn't get empty containers to fill them and get them out of there.
Wow, that's
It's
crazy.
scary how fast this stuff comes in and how quickly it adds up.
Yeah.
Yeah, a real testament to our folks at our transfer stations, because boy, they have just stepped up and kept the lines flowing, kept everything moving, done it in a safe manner. So
Yep.
it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, they're doing a really good job out there.
Yeah, Kevin and Richard are always monitoring how many of the roll-offs we've got on board and thinking ahead to make sure that we're not stacking up. But best laid plans, every now and then we still have a stack up.
Wait, really, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday last week, we put out over 200 tons every day.
Wow.
Every day.
So what are our hours and days that we're open?
Oh goodness, that's the question I'm never quite certain of because they're all so mixed up. The only day we're not open at Eels Hill is Sunday.
Are we thinking about maybe opening up that day?
We're gonna have to think about doing something because it's getting to be a little bit much for during just the crunch of time we have.
Yeah.
And really, it's like the writing's on the wall. Belfair needs something, and quickly. If it grows as fast as the wastewater utility would like it to grow, yeah, we definitely have to do something. And getting, like I say, getting a scale in there would be very helpful for other customers too, because all they can do right now is 3 yards, 3-yard deal, and that makes it really tough.
Yeah, and that site is really constrained. So really what we need to get busy on is a site, doing some site location.
That would be cool.
And so, hey, I can answer. I just got handed hours and times.
Yay, Kevin.
Hey, Kevin, thank you. Okay, so Hood Sport is open Friday through Sunday, 8 to 4:30. Union's open 8 to 4:30, Sunday through Monday. Belfair is open Tuesday through Saturday, 8:30 to 4. And Shelton, of course, Monday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 4:45.
Great. That way we can help spread the word too. Because I think it's on our website too.
Mm-hmm.
It is, but it's buried.
Yeah, that's something that needs to be done. Our website, I'm well aware, horrible.
Get to it.
Kelly and Amy have laid out a game plan for starting to target some cleanup and of the website overall. So we're happy to get going on that.
That'd be cool.
Yes, it would. Long needed.
Yep.
And then Richard, one last item. You said that we had our first delivery of the plastics program.
Oh yeah. Yeah, gosh, we did. We got the SC Johnson. They came through with their first compactor load. And we had no idea what to expect. I had no idea. I thought it was going to be a mountain or not, but it was really enough that we captured it all on a tarp, didn't lose any of them, and they are presently stuffed in a 4x4 by a 3-foot tall box, and they're not even compressed. So we could get a lot more in there for sure, but we'll see how fast this stuff adds up.
Okay, so what is the process for that?
Well, it's a changing one all the time, but I'll tell you how it goes right now. There's a few routes, Mason County garbage routes in Shelton that they have cans, just like your garbage cans, specifically for these plastics. And so I don't know if it's once or twice a week, Mason County garbage goes in, they collect them all inside of one compactor. And then I think they just did this one time. They went through and picked up everything one time and brought it out. And we weren't sure just how this was all going to work, really. We had no idea how much or anything. So we kind of found a spot that was between buildings and we could kind of reduce the wind and everything like that. So we had a big tarp on the ground up on the sides and had them dump it right on the tarp and kind of fold it up quick like a burrito and pulled it into the building. So we didn't lose anything or get it wet or dirty or anything like that. And then we just basically poured them right into the box. Went pretty slick. But I'm sure there's going to be way more room for improvement. There's already suggestions coming in.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that we recycle, and I wish there was more that we could recycle. So that's an exciting adventure.
Mm-hmm.
And Mark,
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys enjoy like popping the air bubbles in those plastic film things as much as I do, but I would really love to drive the compactor and like smush it when pop all those things at once. That'd be kind of fun.
I'm sure it could be set up.
Oh, very cool.
See, who knew things that are unwanted could be so much fun?
Right. Thank you, Richard.
You bet.
Anything else exciting in the utility front?
Well, I don't know. I'm halfway to picking up my daughter in my mind.
Exactly. Yeah. So commissioners and Mark, Richard will be out this week, and then Monday, Tuesday, next week. Monday, yeah.
Monday, yeah.
Road tripping to pick up his daughter from Arizona State. So
Oh, very cool. ASU. Go Sun Devils.
That's right. That's right. Should be fun. I hope it'll be interesting, and I should have some stories.
It'll be an adventure.
So this is a drive down to Arizona and back?
No, I'm going to fly down, and then we're going to drive her car, which is not, to my best of my knowledge, seen any maintenance. And I'm going to drive across some, remote locations. I promised her it might be difficult, but we'll have fun.
Yeah.
It will be an adventure.
Enjoy.
All right. And then commissioners, another follow-up item, the requested briefing with Department of Transportation Olympic Region. Brian Diaz and I have been playing phone tag. So today, hopefully we'll end the phone tag and get a date nailed down for that. And we also have a meeting coming up. Mike and his team have a regular meeting with local programs to make sure we're on target for project deliveries and just hammering out things that need to be hammered out for our specific activities. And so that's the 18th, I believe, of this month. So we've got quite a bit of DOT coordination on a regular basis, but glad to get the briefing with commissioners set. And then Mike's got some good updates just on some grant applications that we are submitting. Lots of good progress on that front, and overall road operations activities.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Number one on my list is Thurston County, Scott Lindblom, the county engineer. He's reached out to us to request to borrow or use one of our temporary bridge structures. We have two of them. One's a 60-footer, one's an 80-footer. He's requesting the longer one. They would use that. He didn't really get into specifics, but he said he'd need it until the summer of 2023. I believe we've only used these things one time since we purchased them back in the day, but we got two, so we're willing to go ahead and work with them on that. That's okay.
Well, we've definitely used them in the Tuhi River Valley and stuff like that. So I know that we have definitely used them. So that will leave us with one. I want to be able to help them, but we don't. I just want to say we got to be aware that we could end up having to use them. We have in the past. I've been around long enough, and even before I was a commissioner. So I do know, depending on the year, we could. But I always want to help the other counties out when possible. Just be aware of that when you give it up. Try to use the smallest one, and let's hope we don't need it.
I think it's cool that we're partnering or being good neighbors.
What is the cost of one of those if we were in need of it immediately?
Well, what I did in Pacific County was Lewis County's got a couple actual Bailey bridges, the old military style ones that you put together, and we actually borrowed, rented from them in that case. But we'd have to check it around. There's always a contractor that's got a temporary structure of some kind, so the cost of it just depends on the length of what you're trying to span.
Okay, thank you.
Next up is our BRAC application. We applied for 5 different bridge improvements. 2 of them are replacements. One is Ike Bridge, which is off of SR 108 out at Ike Road. The other is a Tunerville. Tunerville culverts are up on Bear Creek, Duato. They are a pair of metal culverts that deteriorated completely. The sides are rusted out and everything, but they combine to the overall length to be able to be considered a bridge. So we actually applied to have that replaced. Vance Creek Bridge, Vance Creek Division Bridge, we've requested to replace the damaged girder that's on the bridge, the upstream side, a lot of impact from drift and stuff. North Fork Goldsboro Bridge, which is on Little Egypt Road, and we're requesting funding to replace a timber cap on that. It's really kind of odd construction. It's a concrete pre-stressed superstructure sitting on a timber cap. That's I've never seen that before, so it's kind of unique. And then Evers Bridge. Evers Bridge is in need of some paint, some treatment to preserve it. It's peeling up really bad, and we need to do something that's more of a permanent repair on that bridge. So we hope we'll get 1 or 2 or all of them would be great to get them funded. But those are our top 5 that we're in need of some work. So next one is the Bike and Ped Grant. That's due at the end of this month. We're working with on 3 different projects, kind of going over with tip cap and stuff. One is the Green Diamond, the train trestle, railroad avenue there, extending, taking over that train trestle. We've contacted Green Diamond. We're waiting for some response to whether we can. They would dedicate something like that for us, so we can turn that into a trail. The other is extending the city of Shelton. They have a path there on Brockdale, and we were talking about possibly extending that up as far as we could, maybe up to McEwen Prairie and such, connecting into there. And the other is Mason Lake. The road itself is doing some possible bike lanes on that. So we're just in preliminary looking at different things and still communicating with Tip Cap about if they have any other recommendations and stuff too. So we'll be working on that much harder here in the next couple of weeks. So, speaking of Mason Lake, the feds have dumped about $50 million into the STP program for Washington State. And so they're basically asking us to go ahead and submit additional projects. These projects have to be obligated this year. In other words, they've got to be approved for construction. So that's a big ask, starting here in May and to get to that point. So we've came up with a project. I've already got an estimate for quantities and the cost. It's Mason Lake Road is we've already got an STP project on there. We're just going to go from there and extend it. it'd go from 6.323 to 10.13. That's about 3.9 miles. So we'd extend it all the way to Mason Benson Road. And we would have paved road and paved shoulders at the same time is the ideal. So we're looking to, what I'll have to do is put that on the annual and construction program and the 6-year tip. And so we'll have to have a request a briefing next week for you to put it on the board's agenda to actually do a public hearing to actually add that. Every minute counts when it comes to this thing. So we're going to try to run this through as smoothly and quickly as possible. That's about it. For road crew wise, we've been working on the North Shore. If you ever want to get a visit, Jeremy has volunteered to take either or all of you ride some of the stuff we've been working on. And so North Shore, we probably have over a dozen projects along there. We've been improving the drainage for those heavy storm and stuff. We've been replacing structures and adding some overflow. So, Sunnyside, been working on gravel section of that. Mason Lake Road, did some shoulder grading for the STP project. California, we're about to go in there and do some tree trimming and ditching and preparing that for the chip seal. And then we did some whiting out at Matlock. You can see what we've done if you pass through there. So guys have been doing great. They've really been embracing it, the work that we're doing. And, they like to have the compliment. So it's pretty good.
We could. It's like you guys are definitely busy. I would love to find a day when we can go for a drive.
Let us know a time. We'll manage to make it happen. Enough for me.
We've got some kind of crazy feedback going on here. It sounds like a duck's quack. Quack, quack, quack. That's it, commissioners, on our front. Anything we can help with on yours?
Commissioner, do you have anything?
Yes, I was going to hold this off for commissioner discussion at the end, but now's, I guess, as good a time as any. I had a citizen call me again this year, very concerned, and would like us to take up the question of recycling and why it has to be a forced action. And can that change what that would look like? So I would appreciate some information on that I could share with them, if not an actual briefing for all of us as a commission to know what that looks like. I do know it's in our contract, but what does that entail? And again, that's on behalf of a citizen request.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Sounds like a good topic. I think all commissioners would probably be interested in that.
Great. Richard and I and Kevin will be happy to follow up.
Great. Well, I don't have anything for you. And so we can just go ahead and move into commissioner discussion. If we have any.
Okay, so the other one I had is another citizen request. Years past, we had some big discussions about wakeboard and the issues that it causes, the damages that it causes at the lake. We did not go for it for many different reasons for restrictions, but it may be time to look at it again for the smaller lakes, just the restriction. Like we always do, we blew that other one up into 100 different issues, where it'd be nice to actually look at this issue specifically for smaller lakes and specifically for wakeboard boats and the restrictions in lakes. If we were to simplify it, then maybe we could actually have a good conversation on it. The last time we ended up going for buoys and how to do that, and then we almost closed down, as you heard it at a recent debate, we almost closed down some lakes I started trying to explain to the commission, you're going to lose all these property values for these people if you take away their boating. But if we just simplified it, maybe it could be as simple as a sign going up on these properties. So I'd like to have that discussion. And here is the boss of all bosses there. Hi, Diane, what you got?
Well, yes, we've made a few revisions, and yes, the voting, whenever you, as you know, Randy's been here, it creates quite the commotion when we say we want to restrict any activity. Of course, you have both sides of it, the people that want to, and then those that don't. Keep in mind, when we did in the past try to target a boat type, we were informed any boat can be made into a wakeboard boat because you put in your weight. So it's difficult because it all comes down to enforcement, because like the sheriff's office said, if they're trying to target a certain type of boat, it doesn't mean another type of boat can create the same type of activity. So when you need to write the regulations to where they can be enforced. And we do have, the distance out, you're not supposed to travel, a certain speed so that you reduce your wake. But we can certainly look at it, and we can, work with the sheriff's office to see what's enforceable and, what can happen.
That's the exact discussion I had with the citizen, because I do remember, and we did go through all that. But the reality of it, the reason why I thought it's worth talking about it again is the lock is there to keep the honest man out. In some of these lakes, we do restrict gas-powered motors. And the particular lake that this person brought up, you may not know of it. It's a very, very small lake, but it is allowed for wakeboarding. And that is Wooten Lake, which is darn near on the verge of being a lake that you can't use gas-powered motors on. So to have those big boats go out there, and we can never have perfection, and I understand that, but what I'd like to discuss is just whether or not to restrict the specific type of boat, which is different. Those boats are different. Yes, you can do things to modify other boats, but those boats are quite a bit different. And to restrict it in just the smaller lakes might be a topic worth having conversations about. So
yeah,
just
and remember, I know we have a pretty good following of people with wakeboard boats on Phillips Lake, because when that was part of one of our hearings several years ago, that was the group that really came forward, because they do own those boats. So, but we can certainly look at it again.
And like I said, just the smaller, for myself, that's all I'm talking about. The other commissioners may have a completely different idea. I'd just like to consider the real small lakes and whether or not to do it. I definitely am not looking for a full out ban or anything, and I don't think you could anyway. Thank you. That's all I had.
All right, I don't have anything, so.
I move we adjourn.
All right.
Oh, commissioners, I don't know if you saw, I sent an email this morning. Today is our due date for our RCO grants for the park projects. And Bob Dorrell, our consultant, sent an email asking if, so that we have something sustainable in our ask and to address, climate issues that are going on. He's asking if we want to include an electrical vehicle charger in our Union proposal. So be one at Union and then 2 at Sand Hill. He estimates the cost around $35,000. And he said there's still time to amend the site plan. But that way there would be something more we could put as sustainable in our request.
Yeah, don't the PUDs have some grants for charging stations?
I do not know, but we'd certainly look into it. And I'm sure, yes, I'm sure Bob too would be aware if there's any additional grants maybe we could apply for, as we move forward. But in our request, which we need to get in today, does the board want to include that?
This would definitely help us to climb up the ladder. You know how those boards work. There's some that this is all they're interested in. So to be able to capture their attention would be helpful. I just asked if we're going to do it, though, we don't make the mistake of just throwing charge on there, but instead fast charging units. If you're going to do it right the first time instead of just throwing something in there that won't get us anywhere in 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah, because John's comments too, were at least it shows we have some progressive thinking. So yeah, the fast charger then, because there, I think it is the way it's going, and it would at least have some charging stations then in those areas. So
Yeah,
I'll ask Bob then to include that in the proposal.
I think that'd be cool. And we're such a rural county that we don't, you can run out of a charge quick.
Well, we're on the verge of, through the Peninsula Regional Transportation Organization and other things, of putting together maps that show where these things are. So it'll also help us with economic development. But again, fast charge is definitely the need, not just a charging station. If you're going to do it in a way that it'll show up on all those maps and it'll actually have the benefit of somebody sitting there for an hour.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else? Mark, do you have anything for us? Nope. All right.
Back to my motion. I move we adjourn.
We're adjourned.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.